Education, a right for every child, is clearly captured in Article 25 Clause 1 of Ghana's Constitution. It clearly states that all persons shall have the right to equal educational opportunities and facilities with a view of achieving the full realization of that right. Basic education shall be free, compulsory, and available to all. Two key pointers make up the statute on the law books: equal educational opportunities and all. The Oxford Dictionary defines equal as having the same rights or being treated the same as other people without differences such as race, religion, or sex being considered. All, in its most basic definition, refers to the whole quantity or extent of a particular group or thing. Ghana has seen different initiatives including free compulsory universal basic education, girl child education, free meals under the school feeding program, and free school uniform distribution to underserved public schools. These initiatives were designed to encourage more parents to enroll their children, retain them in school, and see to completion of their basic education. To send a child to school then meant looking for a school in a convenient reach, a school which had professional teachers and a level of care that could be easily supervised by a parent at close proximity. But the two key words, all and equal educational opportunities, appear not to have the same meaning for some 173,000 children, a critical mass who form some 2% of all children of school-going age in Ghana. Children with visual impairment constitute the highest number of all special students in special schools in Ghana. Out of every 10 children with disabilities in school, as much as 3 are either blind or partially sighted. Ramatu Salifu, now a teacher, recounts how she lived in Kumasi but had to travel this long, tortuous 12-hour journey to Wa as a little girl to attend school.
For me, as an individual, I would say I'm lucky to have parents who have been very assistive and supportive, because I left them at a very tender age to go to Wa. Honestly, it's not easy. When you are going, they'll have to buy everything for you that you'll be using there. It's a boarding house actually. So you go. At that time, there wasn't any vehicle like the Metro Mass and the other buses moving in the morning. You have to leave in the night. The road was very terrible. You get to Wa, you leave here Kumasi in the night, and you get to Wa in the morning around 8 o'clock. They will see you as if they have just dug you from the ground. In fact, sometimes the car will break down. You have to sleep in the forest and a whole lot. Till you get to the school and your parents call to see that, to hear that, oh, my ward has arrived safely. They can't sleep. So it's a whole lot. You'll be there in the car alone, and because of the distance, it's not all the time that your parents can be visiting you. It's not easy, because actually educating the blind or the visually impaired is very, very expensive. Very, very expensive.
Some 56% of adults with disabilities in the country have no formal education. This is evidence of the marginalization of PWDs, most of whom constitute the poorest and most vulnerable in Ghana. 45% of persons with hearing impairment and 51% with physical disability have low adult literacy rates. At a GHOne in the Asokore municipality, Ivan Fumado meets up with Abdul Baset Hamidan, who can relate to the plight of children with visual impairment in the Ashanti region. He offers to take Ivan to the house of 30-year-old Rahama and 21-year-old Sharifa. Rahama never stepped foot in the classroom. Her younger sister, now 21, who was fortunate to begin attending the Cropon School for the Blind, dropped out of school when her parents could not continue sending her to the eastern region, afraid she would lose her Muslim faith. They both declined an interview, but Abdul Baset helps Ivan and the team understand the difficulty he faced trying to get them some support from the district assembly through the disability share of the common fund.
We got to hear about them very late. One of our chairman, that is the disability in Ashanti region, GBU, Mr. Chiramantin, he called me, being a Muslim, that I can contact them to know more about them. So I try my best of getting their mother's number. I call, I explain things to them. I even directed them to assemble. So we started the process, everything of them getting the disability common fund. They made them to fill the form and other things so that they can be registered precisely in the Askoremon municipal. So they were registered. But normally, as we normally hear it, the quarterly distributed fund is hardly that it comes.
19-year-old Wisdom has a similar plight as Rahama and Sharifa. Until 2 years ago, he didn't know what a school for the blind looked like. He dropped out of school at the age of 6 while in primary 1 because he lost his sight. His mother recounts how she was left helpless after her husband abandoned them.
Baby ubano kaka bono fine kure nsumani biem nams na de minim sa wo sha me na yeye na afidie aye ayi kula nti tam no so na misida bi mekọ agogo na makohwe ti me kom the space na koy ye ko no na doctor nje space na share machine no say wana de ayi ma ana me say living water so na mkoje doctor na nka hwe ba me hwesi bi osi ye na me yam shame am say doctor there was there bi nye bibia ana me sim ne eti eche ye kwaje drama no say nani na circular o ayi na ka ba we no ama na circular nka be ya nka me fa ne nko school for Florence any adane de misun hospital na kofi same ne wona mo nyina wani afra na wonam misunya kofi me say ye floor ka ye be afi to mo san ye space na for floor maame afi me de ma no so woni kura nhye biem on pebiem kura kofi me say space no so afi me hu be bi kura me de to enti aduro na wo hwa o mo choro maame no na me de aguso.
Wisdom is now in school under rehabilitation where he has discovered his talent in music. His biggest wish is to get a keyboard to practice what he studies in the music class. Children with hearing impairment are not left out of this inequality. Their plight is worse. They neither hear anyone nor get heard. Locked out in a world of their own where only sight matters. 8-year-old Atobia, not her real name, suffered total hearing loss before she turned 1. Her parents tried sending her to a usual school, but this only became a routine as nothing the teachers taught made sense to her.
School. The school na yɛde normal school ide. Enu sishina no mo de compare ba. Sa wantena faako. Wantena class nsua de o di agoro basabasa. Na yɛsɛ bia yɛde ne bɛkɔ omu school no ɛwɔ mampon. Ba yakɔ ho ba 3 times ya anya kwan. Enti de to so ba 3 times no mu na yakɔhyia man bi na ɔse obetimi ama kwan bi ma wo afa no. Ba enu ana Lord and batoso.
Unlike the visually impaired, the Ashanti region is one of the 10 regions with a basic school for the deaf located at Jamase, an hour and 45 minutes drive from Adobia's home at Oforikrom. After several years of seeking admission, Adobia can now enroll in a boarding school when the COVID-19 restrictions on schools are lifted. But this will not come for free. Her grandmother discloses, aside the emotional distress of sending her granddaughter off to live far away from home, the initial cost per her prospectus is 1,500.
Senka school ni be by hamaya. Ke ni ba jepa ko so wo fi o haji. Woni nam tasita nem ta se ojun ho kra how bebre awayeso. School no so so de no kwa sika o mojinya sika ketwa. Kwa no so wa wo sha. Sa wo do no nkwa ba kwa kwati school mu ho wo mman ho onnim se do site se de ni so ehye no kra ya na meyam hyem se bia Bele na bakwa to kwanto ntia mentimi nkɔ hɔ de bia nkɔhwɛ no. Nti sɛ mbese mbetimi abae ma abae de bia abae ha ma yede a kai ni bagye pa.
The Ashanti School for the Deaf is located at Jamase within the Mampo municipality in the Ashanti region. It is a serene environment. All students are home because of COVID-19 except for GHS2 students. At full capacity, the school can only take 600 students and admits some 40 students each year. A teacher in the school, Emilia Shiagbo, discloses the sad reality that hundreds of hearing impaired students who apply to the school are unable to have access for a lack of space to accommodate them.
The school, we have accommodation problems. So every year we take just about 40 of the students, those who are coming in. Meanwhile, we have about sometimes over 100 waiting lists. So the school can only accommodate for only maybe 40. So sometimes some of them, they don't come back. Why? They will tell you they cannot meet their financial need. They can't meet them. So they don't come back.
The school is under-resourced in staff and logistics needed to operate at its best, even though its students turn up among the best in the basic education certificate examinations.
You know, in special schools, it's supposed to be 10 students to a teacher. But here, because of our accommodation problem and our number, sometimes we see a classroom like 30 to a student, which is not the normal thing we should do. In terms of teacher stroke people ratio, we are above that. So one of the challenges is the accommodation problem, and then the teacher people ratio, which is more than necessary.
At the senior high school and tertiary school, the plight is no different. There are only 3 senior high schools for the deaf in the whole of Ghana. The blind have access to 5 senior high schools in the country. For technical senior high schools, the hearing impaired have access to 5 schools with only 2 technical schools for the blind. Out of the 48 colleges of education, only 1 admits students with hearing impairment. The blind have access to 3 out of the 48 colleges of education. The Cape Coast University and the University of Education, Winneba, are specialized to take hearing and visually impaired students, with the University of Ghana allowing some room for inclusive education. Civil society organization Send Ghana highlights issues of disability and education for children with disabilities in its citizen manifesto, drafted as a check on political party manifestos in Ghana. The manifesto, which reflects the request of the public, demands funding for the holistic implementation of the inclusive education policy. Send Ghana's Citizens Manifesto also demands that government institutes early medical screening for newborns and preschool children to identify children with special needs and address their challenges. A World Bank report did an analysis of disability gaps in educational attainment in 11 countries, including Burkina Faso, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Liberia, Mali, Malawi, Mozambique, South Africa, South Sudan, and Zambia. In all countries, Ghana inclusive, the conclusions were that gaps in education between usual and disabled children has continued to widen over the past 20 years. Only half of children with disabilities of primary school completion age can read and write. Of all in-service training for teachers, training related to inclusive education is the least commonly provided. Less than 6% of children in schools have undergone medical eye and hearing assessments. This phenomenon exists at a time developed countries have enough literature to show that investing in education for persons with disability yields good dividends to the labor market and reduces the burden for social support on governments. Ghana is signatory to several national and international conventions which demand equal rights to education for children with special education needs. But until policymakers prioritize inclusive education and provide the needed investments to realize inclusion, several persons with hearing, sight, motor, and intellectual disabilities will be underserved, denied access to education, left unable to compete for the best of jobs, resigned to poverty, and dependent on meager pro-poor interventions to survive.